thank you guys for being with us today. We're so grateful. So please, can you introduce yourselves and sort of tell us what impact the work you do has on the tech space?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ajo Balogun, and I'm what you call a people officer, which means that I work in HR. And I'm really strong on employee wellness and being happy in the workplace. But I'm here today in my capacity as project head for what is called Powerland Project. And Powerland Project is a scholarship-based training that was born in Kenya. And it's launched in 4 other countries. Nigeria is the 5th country, which was launched last November. And in August, we are hoping to graduate about 500 plus learners to become who will be software developers. Where impact is concerned, our goal obviously is to help to build the upskilling of these talents within Africa, and of course put them into the workplace and into internship roles. So the task is huge. The impact is going to be amazing. I can see it, and I'm extremely excited for what we are going to deliver come August. Enough said. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, hi everyone. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having us. I'm Olugbenga Omojola. I'm the CEO of Blakskill Limited, as I've been introduced. Essentially, I like to say that I'm a management consultant, and really that's what I am. I'm a board advisor, strategist, and I sit on the board of a couple of organizations as an executive director, and that gives me that overview, over the tech space and across certain other sectors of the economy. So what Blakskill does, because I'm sitting here because I'm representing Blakskill as the Chief Executive Officer. Blakskill is an HR tech platform that has been designed to create that bridge between employers, global employers, of course, and then talents across the world, creating a bridge where there could be that handshake. And I would like to say that we provide visibility and we provide access to verified talent. I may be wondering, what does verified talent then mean? Because certain other platforms will tell you that they provide a bridge where talents and employers or recruiters get to meet. But we provide a background and verification, services to talents that are onboarded on our platform. So you get a badge, and it's completely free of charge to talents. So you get this platform where someone is sitting in Google and types in on our search engine AWS or some front-end React developer. And then your profile comes up because we've profiled you already. We have your resume, we have a number of details from you, and we've validated who you are. And that gives the employers, that gives them that sense that we already have pre-qualified the talent we're having conversations with. And lastly, I'll just mention that there's been quite a number of success stories already across the world of talents who, from Blakskill, have gotten excellent engagements by being searched out and being verified by Blakskill.
Thank you very much for that, sir. Okay, so I have a question for you, Ajo. What are the key skills and qualities that trainers look out for in candidates during the hiring process?
We have a curriculum which we call 12 work talents. It would be fantastic if one individual had all of those 12 skills. But these soft skills are really based on what we are calling, like I said, 12 work talents. And they're what we call 6 A's and 6 C's. So an example for the A's might be, number 1, I think, is your attitude to work. So we have something called attitude, we have agility, ability, and all of that. And then the C's fall under your creativity in terms of your problem solving and your communication skills and how you also give feedback to whatever project it is that you may be working on. So I feel that those are the skills that we need to concentrate on as individuals before you even then move on to the skills. I would actually call it a skill in terms of where your self-love is sitting. Because if you don't love yourself and you don't have a goal for what you want to achieve in life, it's actually difficult for you to bring that into any organization or any workplace. So I feel that those skills are what are important to me as an individual and should also be important to the potential job seeker, as it were.
All right, thank you so much for that. Bringa, do you want to say something about that as well?
Yeah, sure. You've provided a very great platform and foundation for the response. Maybe if I just put in a bit some more perspective as a recruiter, because we do a lot of recruitment and we support recruiters to find excellent talents. I'd say it's great to put competencies in two major buckets. So you have the behavioral competencies and you have the technical competencies. Well, most of the technical competencies are driven by what you've learned, your academic years, your professional certifications you've gotten, and to a large extent, if I see that you've been trained by this person, for example, a trainee coming from your platform, and I know this person has been trained for this X number of years or months or for this curriculum, I can get a tick and say, yes, the technical competencies should be there. But over the years, from doing this for years now, recruiting from entry level all the way to board level, I've realized that the technical competencies are just maybe get you a foot in the door, really. What really speaks more to who you are the behavioral competencies, which interestingly you mentioned some of them. And then, so I've been saying competencies. I think it's great to also break down what competencies are really. So competencies is a technical term we use when we're describing talents. But as a matter of fact, I'd say it's a three-legged, concept that has skills, that has knowledge, and attitude. So competencies, like a tripod sitting on three legs. What are the skills that you have? What's kind of knowledge that you have, and what kind of attitude? Now, for the behavioral, which I'd like to speak a bit to, you mentioned some of them, but I tried to, maybe not in a particular order, but what I've seen. Every employer that I know of, they're looking for people who can solve problems. And there's a competence called solutions thinking. Are you a solutions thinker? I'm not even talking about if you have the history of providing solutions, right? For example, you probably haven't even had any work experience. But I'm engaging you and I'm analyzing. I'm throwing questions at you and I'm seeing your responses. I'm seeing the attitude you're bringing. I'm seeing how you're thinking. And I can tell what proficiency level is this person across solutions thinking. Or is this thinking in a closed box? Or is it thinking outside the box? Or is it thinking without a box? Different levels. If I see someone thinking without a box and throwing himself or herself at any challenges I'm putting forward when I'm asking questions, like the gentleman who was speaking earlier, even if I don't have a role open for that person, I most likely will just hire and say, you know what, I'll tell my HR manager, I'll be paying this person's salary, let him just wait. We'll find somewhere to put him. Or we'll find some recruiter or some organization who will need him. Because what we need is someone who can actually think. So that's solutions thinking. I could go on and on. Critical thinking as well. Problem solving, communication. How you can project your competencies articulately. Because you could be a tech person and know, I interviewed one recently who has so much experience in the AWS and can speak all the tech language, but stuttered and fidgeted all through the engagement. Was unable to project. Yes, we would hire him, but I already see he can't lead a team. I already see that I'll be concerned and that already pre-qualifies him into a certain bucket. So communications, huge. Articulation of how you present your ideas, your skills. Every employer, every talent seeker is looking for that.
Okay. So, in the situation where there's someone that has the technical know-how and struggles a bit with the behavioral, especially maybe the confidence level, right? What do you think that person can do to sort of build themselves up just before they get through that door and come to meet you? Because if you have a situation where you have two people, one is articulate and the other isn't, at the end of the day, you probably pick, and you have only one person, you probably pick the. So how does someone who isn't so articulate or have a confidence level build that just before they get to come meet someone like you?
Excellent, excellent. So first I'd say, as humans, the kind of capacity that we have within us, potentials, it's been identified, research well proven, that we can learn anything. You know, some people say, this is difficult, this skill is difficult. No matter how dull someone may consider themselves, they can actually learn. It may just require more effort from person A than person B. So confidence, interviewing skills, presentation skills, articulation skills, they are skills that can be learned. I've trained people as a career coach. I've had opportunities to coach people across board, even up to executive, senior management level, director levels, and because there are different levels to that. Case in point, you would see a candidate, right, running for an election. During the campaign, maybe if someone who hasn't been so exposed to public life, the way they walk will suddenly change when they become elected. Do you think is that they are now proud? No. They've been trained. They have been told that this is how you walk, this is how you stretch your shoulders. When you want to shake, this is the angle it has to go to. That training comes there. So anybody can learn that, really. And that's why, for example, at Blakskill, we have free webinars, monthly webinars that we, not paid for, but we bring great talents, leaders who come to train on employability skills. Now, these employability skills would cut across, of course, communication, like I've mentioned, how to articulate yourself, how to present, the styles to use to ensure that you project yourself effectively. We call it the EVR, and yeah. So you can learn it, and you should learn it. Yeah.
Can I just add something to that? For anybody who is a fan of Michael Jackson, he's got that song called The Man in the Mirror. And when we talk about our training, when we have our training processes, we sort of dwell a lot on what we call authenticity. Is one of those A's that we talk about. And authenticity comes from who you are as a human being and how true you are to yourself. Because to be able to sell yourself to somebody else, you need to know what your DNA is. So a conversation with the mirror would actually help you to build any of those skills that you're lacking where self-confidence is. And if you're actually going to present yourself within a CV, which is what the norm is, your CV has to speak who you are. So we sometimes get people that come to us and you can tell that they've just basically copied a CV from, I don't know, some website, or a friend has written it for them. And then when you ask them to explain to you what that objective means, they can't even do that. So I'm not actually interested in seeing this fancy CV, because once you come in front of me or you come into a panel session, or whether it's virtual or otherwise, I can actually tell whether or not that CV is yours. So I think that in talking about skill building, that one skill that you first of all need is to find out who you really are, what your talent is, what it is that is special about you that employer is actually looking for. And it can be anything. For anybody who's just leaving university to go to a first job, for example, your experiences have come from your life. In as much as you don't have a first job, you've done things during the holiday that you can actually talk about on your CV or at interview. Let it be about you, because nobody else can sell you except yourself. In terms of this when my colleague was saying about employability, it's about you. What are the things that you're able to do? Or if you can't actually think about what those are, ask your friends or your family about the one thing that they think is special about you, or the one thing that is different about who you are as a human being.
Okay. Yeah, just to follow up on that. So how, if I want to show how different I am as a candidate and I want you to pick me or stand out, can I have like specific examples on how I can put that in my CV that would make you interested in seeing me just by, looking at my CV?
Okay, so the CV is just the first tool to get you into that interview. So when I look at a CV, I first of all don't want to see any gaps in your career if you have like 2 or 3 years experience, for example. But that's not always the case. But what I mean by that is tell the truth. Don't lie about what it is that you have done, whereas I can see that you probably haven't done it. That's number one. Number two is also things as basic as the look of the CV. If, for example, one CV has 4 fonts and 3 different sizes, I can actually tell just by looking at it, even if it's not a soft copy, right? So that tells me that you actually pay attention to detail. So it's those little things that I want to see. It may also mean that, for example, somebody will say, oh, my referee is on request. If you are going into an entry-level position and you tell me that your referees are on request, I'm likely to discard your CV because I don't have time to come back to you to say, can you tell me the phone number or the email of this person? So it's those sort of little things that we're after. And I want it to be authentic. I can tell if a CV is authentic just by looking at it. And then sometimes also the objective, for example, could say that I want to come to an organization where my skills are appreciated and I can add value to. What does that mean? Don't write an objective. A CV does not have to have an objective on it. Just tell me that I'm in university, I just finished last year, this is what I've done. I belong to a debate team, I'm head of the student union. Those little things that show that you actually have leadership. Just be yourself, that's what we want.
Wait, do you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's an interesting topic, and thanks for what you've said about it. Like, you picked those words out of me, really. And I may just add, because I actually thought I was only the one who gets scared when I look at those objectives. I'm like, what's this? So I'd rather have a professional profile. Even if you, like you mentioned, even if you're a fresh graduate or you haven't gotten much, but you could still describe yourself in a certain way as someone who is bringing something of value, coming to solve a problem. So that's, you describe yourself in that way. Short, few lines. And I'd also like to add, so a number of techniques have now been introduced by tech companies in seeking out talent. So for example, years ago when we were doing recruitment, like over a decade ago, when there wasn't so much of the use of search engines and all that, you sift through CVs trying to look for keywords and all. I'm certain a number of us are familiar with search engine optimization. It's no longer a new concept. You know what websites do, pages do to ensure that they come up when they are searched out on, search engines. You should do the same for your resume. In short, you should make your resume, yes, make it authentic, make it true about yourself, but you've got to use keywords that would cost whatever ATS, which is like an application tracking system that most organizations use. There are some even cheap ones that entrepreneurs who can afford so much can even use. That helps to sift through CVs. And what this ATS is looking for are keywords that would relate to the particular role that you've applied for. So why wouldn't those keywords appear in your resume, since you know that there will be a digital search, and that's what will be used to determine what CV is chosen or not. So that said, I'd also like to add that it's good to project yourself as a doer, someone who gets things done. So you're putting in adjectives and verbs all over your resume, depicting what you've done. Case in point, the example you gave about what you did in school. I'd be excited to meet anyone who tells me that while I was in school, I was in this team, not even a leader necessarily, but I was in this team and I did this, I did this, I did that. I already know this is someone who understands teamwork. I already know this is someone who knows what it means to get things done, even right from school. Not to take too much of the time, but those things are really critical. You need to if you can optimize websites and blogs, you've got to optimize your CV as well for, to be visible easily.
Thank you so much for that. So I have another question for you, for both of you, actually. So I'll start with you, Olugbenga. So now you talked about a lot about, the skills and all of that. So in what ways can trainers and recruiters actually help to improve our skills or to help us reskill, if there's a word for that, so that we can pick up on things that we're not so strong at? So is there a way that trainers and recruiters can actually help with that?
Trainers could help talents, right? Job seekers, right? Okay, yeah. Well, so first I'd say, speaking from my experience, especially when we're doing talent searches for some executive roles, I wouldn't just assume that because I'm pulling this person from this big company as senior manager, I'm pulling him to another company because we're doing headhunt or executive search. I won't just assume this person knows how to go to the interview and know what to say. Because as a matter of fact, different organizations are looking for different things. So what we do is we have some sessions where we have chats with talents and prep them, no matter how senior they are, for the interview. So if there's a recruiter out there, it's important that you take your talents through, because it actually even improves the success rate of the candidates. So I'd say preps. Have an interview prep. That's one. Secondly, you can't over-research the organization you're applying to. You can't over-research it. And before I speak to that, I should mention as well that you should have as many CVs, or let me say as many versions of CVs for as many roles you've applied for without lying. Remember I mentioned you should optimize, just the same way you optimize websites. If you're applying for a role, say for example you're an accountant and you're applying for a costing accounting role, the way you would write your resume and put your competencies and describe yourself should be different from when you are applying as maybe an administrative accountant. Because while it's accounting, but they are speaking to varying specifics, and you need to depict that way. So back to what I'm saying. I was saying about how your resume should depict you, and then how you research what the organizations are about. A lot of us have reminders or prompts on some social media pages, so you know when some funny comedian has posted a new video, so you get to watch it. There's nothing wrong with that. But how come a lot of us don't have such prompts and alerts for organizations, for job boards who are posting jobs now and again, or for organizations? Like, so, for example, you'd like to work maybe you'd like to work at Blakskill, for example. Why don't you go to the YouTube of Blakskill and set up prompt alert? So if there's any news about Blakskill, or there's any news about a sector you are looking to break into, you get those alerts. It could be in Punch, it could be in any other newspaper, it could be in TV, but you've set those prompt alerts. You've even gone to Google, for example, to upload your areas of interest, that when news like this come online, I should be informed, I should know, right? So once I'm informed, then I know what to do and how to project myself to this. So you want to know a lot about the organization you are interviewing at. You want to know a lot about the people that are there. And so I've mentioned LinkedIn, for example. Coca-Cola has probably invited you. I hope I'm not doing adverts for them. And then they've invited you for a role. You go on LinkedIn or platforms where you can find talent that would have indicated that they work in that department or that organization. And look at their profile. Look at the kind of things they're doing. You will come to the interview and speak about it. And of course, I will tell you that you would catch the attention of anyone at that panel. Recently interviewed someone for a role, and he was supposed to make a presentation. He had scaled quite a number of levels, and it was quite a supervisory role. So he was asked to create some document he would present to me to see. And I walked into my conference room, large screen, and I was expecting typically to see the front page, right, of his presentation. Well, guess what I saw? No, not that. What I saw was a newspaper publication about myself at some conference I was in Houston earlier, maybe a couple of months ago. That was what I saw on the screen. At first, I thought it was my colleagues that probably had it on, but it was him. So I looked at it and I saw myself, Olugbenga Omojola, Houston, this. Then I said, okay, can we go on with your presentation? And then he flipped the screen to his own presentation. I was like, what were you doing with that? I said, I was just reading up on you, sir. No matter how, he had already warmed up his way into my heart. Although I didn't allow that to influence anything, but that told me, and he was being engaged for a sales role. So that told me already this is a sales guy. This guy will sell anybody, right? Yeah.
Right.
I think that is so special. And that's why I talked about authenticity before. So if you're going for that interview and you've done research on that company, if it's only one thing you can find about the company that resonates with you, that is what you need to talk about. Or it's something that you need to ask about so that they can actually see that this person is different from the next person. The last thing I want to add to that is about writing hobbies on your CV. Sometimes people ask us that, is it important to write hobbies on your CV? There are different schools of thought on everything, and there are different schools of thought on this as well. I totally believe in hobbies because that is what would actually endear me to the other person. I've met an individual who wrote on his CV that he plays tennis, and I gave him a job because of that, because I love tennis as well. So it can be anything that that employer can pick up that you have written in that CV. So don't think that anything that you have done in your life is not relevant, because that is what you're about. That is who you are, and that is who you're bringing to the table. So everything about you is definitely important, and that's what we want to see.
Thank you. So, final question for you guys. So, what are some common mistakes or pitfalls that candidates should avoid during the application process? I know you just mentioned how someone got a job just by putting their hobbies, but what are the mistakes that job seekers should look out for when applying for these jobs?
I don't believe in mistakes in individuals because every person is different. So I may be the most brilliant person and I'm bad at selling myself when it comes to sitting an interview. Or I just don't know how to speak at that interview. I'm sweaty, I'm all nervous, and it can be all kinds of things. So I think that as the person that is recruiting or interviewing for this potential position, you always have to have empathy. If you don't have empathy, you can't even be in HR. You shouldn't be in HR if you don't have empathy. So I don't know if it's the same for you, but I think I've said it already. Everybody has a different dynamics. So whatever you're bringing to the table is what I want to see. And there are many situations we've had where we've had to restart the interview because the person that we're interviewing is just a bundle of nerves. Again, we also have bite-sized workshops that you can come to us, like if you've got an interview coming up, and we can just help you. And basically, we don't actually do very much. We just tell you that it'll be okay on the day. As long as you know what it is that you're about and what you're bringing to that organization, just bring that.
Well, so flowing again, I mean, you always provide a very great platform for me to ride on. And yes, while I'm of that school of thought as well, but it's important as well to also note that maybe over the years I've seen certain things you might do that may not just help towards, your aim of getting the job. In spite of, the HR team showing empathy and all that. So I'd say first, something to look out for, which I think you mentioned briefly when you were speaking, are errors on your resume. Errors, and I'll add gaps. You want to proofread, it's probably just 2 sheets or 3 sheets. And if you've had maybe years of experience, maybe 4 or 5 sheets, please, you can read it 20 times. You can share it with, you must know someone who does editing. You went to school. You should have somebody who studied English. Just share it with them, let them read through. Ensure that there are no errors. If you're presenting a resume, no matter how brilliant you say you are, and I'm picking out errors in it, that tells me already that I'll start dealing with errors when I give you a task to do in such a short time, right? So you don't even want that to happen at all. You don't want errors on your resume. You want to be able to explain everything you have on your resume. And I'd also add that you should come into an interview thinking, for these people to want to fill this role, what kind of problems might be existing? Nobody just wants to hire for the sake of it. Roles are solutions to problems, solidified problems. So you've got to wear the hat to say, what kind of problem could be existing if they want to hire a product designer, for example. So already that tells me they are probably expanding, they need to do more designs, or they are not satisfied with how their outlook is, they need better designs, right? More designs, better designs in shorter time. So I'm at the interview, I've got to speak to those 3 things, how I can help with those 3 things. And I'd advise, so there's this concept, this concept of the STAR interview technique. It helps you to articulate as much as possible. Because before you know it, you're already telling stories and you're losing track, and they are saying, Oga, can you come back to the question we asked you? And all in the bid of you trying to over-explain. So if you have this STAR technique etched in your memory. And STAR is an acronym that stands for situation, tasks, then action, and results. If you have it in your memory and they've asked a question about your designs, how would you describe yourself as a designer? You know that's an opportunity to describe how fast you can work, how diversified your designs can be, and how you actually can walk, on water basically. And you tell that in a story. You tell that in the story of some time when your team, maybe could even be from school, or the project you were given to do while you were training as a product designer, how you had just 1 hour to get this done, and how you researched what had to be done, how you found the platform, and then the action you took, the consultations you had, and then the results that you got. Either you got an accolade or the team was able to meet the deadline. And take notes. You run away from saying a lot of I. Yes, you say we, because you probably did some bits of it in the team, but don't say we all through as well. You've got to speak to the parts you specifically played in that role. So that way, you've already described yourself as a solution. Now, a mistake, so let me borrow, let me say mistake, maybe a pitfall that one would fall into is not seeing that opportunity to throw yourself in that light and expose yourself and project the competencies that you have.
Okay, thank you so much for this amazing session. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.